Welcome to SpaceXInvestor. SpaceX's most successful rocket did not fail. It may have become too small for the company it created. On August 25th, a Falcon 9 launched another group of Starlink satellites from Florida. The booster did what Falcon boosters now make look almost routine. It climbed through the atmosphere, separated, returned, and landed. But SpaceX launch executive Kiko Donchev said this mission carried a much larger meaning. It was the last planned Falcon 9 Starlink launch from Florida. Future Starlink missions from Florida are expected to fly on Starship. That does not mean Falcon 9 is retired. It does not mean launches from Pad 40 are ending. Dragon crews, government payloads, and commercial satellites still depend on Falcon, and Falcon 9 can continue launching Starlink from California. What changed is one specific mission class in one crucial launch region. Still, this may be the first visible step in the retirement of the Falcon system. SpaceX is beginning to move its own largest recurring payload program to the rocket designed to replace it. So the investor question is not whether Falcon 9 remains valuable. It clearly does. The question is why SpaceX would begin leaving behind one of the greatest launch businesses ever built, and what Starship must prove before this transition can expand. The exact wording matters. Donchev described the morning flight from Space Launch Complex 40 as the last planned Falcon 9 Starlink launch from Florida. He said future Florida Starlink missions would fly on Starship. This is an operating plan, not a declaration that every Falcon Starlink mission everywhere has ended. Florida is the logical place to begin the handoff. SpaceX is building the launch and recovery system for Starship around its large coastal facilities, while the Kennedy and Cape Canaveral region already supports a dense SpaceX workforce, range infrastructure, and Starlink logistics. Moving Florida's internal constellation missions first allows the company to introduce Starship without immediately removing Falcon from the missions where customers or NASA require its established record. California remains a pressure valve. Falcon 9 can continue carrying Starlink from Vandenberg, particularly into orbital planes that are well suited to West Coast launches. Florida's Falcon pads can then preserve capacity for Dragon and outside customers, even as Starship takes more of the internal deployment burden. This distinction protects the channel from an easy but misleading headline. Falcon 9 is not over. A planned retirement has started at the level of mission allocation. SpaceX can reverse or delay that plan if Starship is not ready. The word planned leaves room for operational reality. Weather, vehicle availability, satellite readiness, regulatory approvals, and launch cadence can all change a manifest. The signal is strategic, not absolute. SpaceX wants Starship to become the default vehicle for the network that now consumes most of its launch capacity. To understand the risk, look at what Falcon 9 already delivers. In its June 2026 European prospectus, SpaceX said Falcon 9 had completed approximately 620 orbital launches by March 31st, with a mission success rate above 99%. The company reported more than 570 successful booster landings and more than 540 missions flown with flight-proven Falcon hardware. In 2025 alone, Falcon launched 165 times. SpaceX said that represented more than half of all orbital launches worldwide and carried more than 80% of the mass placed into orbit. Those are company figures, but they show the extraordinary standards Starship is being asked to match. Falcon 9 is also the only American launch vehicle certified by NASA for commercial crew. As of the end of 2025, SpaceX reported 19 human spaceflight missions with a 100% mission success rate. That history cannot be transferred to a new rocket through ambition. It must be rebuilt through testing, flight data, manufacturing discipline, and repeated successful operations. Falcon's economic achievement is just as important. The first stage returns and flies again, turning hardware reuse into a production system rather than a demonstration. SpaceX says partial reuse reduced its cost per ton to orbit by roughly 85%, compared with a historical industry average of about $18,500 per kilogram. Falcon therefore remains a remarkable asset. Its weakness is not reliability. Its weakness is architectural. The first stage is reusable, but the upper stage is discarded. Its payload volume and mass are limited compared with what SpaceX expects from Starship. The rocket that opened the modern reusable launch era is still only partially reusable. Starlink is changing faster than Falcon 9 can scale. Falcon 9 can carry up to 22,800 kilograms to low Earth orbit under the vehicle's published specifications. That capacity enabled SpaceX to build the world's largest satellite constellation. But each mission still carries a limited number of satellites, uses a disposable second stage, and occupies launch range, pad, ship, and workforce capacity. The next generation of Starlink satellites is designed around Starship's larger payload bay and lift capacity. In a SpaceX reliability presentation hosted by NASA, the company said one Starship mission with V3 satellites could add 60 terabits per second of network capacity. SpaceX described that as more than 20 times the capacity added by a Falcon 9 mission carrying V2 mini-satellites. That is the strategic break. If those numbers are demonstrated in service, one Starship launch does not merely replace one Falcon launch. It can replace many launches worth of network growth. More capacity per mission can mean fewer range operations, fewer disposable upper stages, faster constellation upgrades, and a lower launch cost per unit of useful bandwidth. But capacity on a slide is not capacity in service. Starship must reach the correct orbit, deploy a large group of satellites safely, maintain schedule, survive recovery, and fly again with limited refurbishment. V3 satellites must then activate, communicate, and deliver the promised throughput. This is why the Florida handoff is such a useful test. Starlink is an internal payload. SpaceX controls the rocket, satellites, integration, schedule, and network. It can accept risks and iterate faster than a customer with a one-of-a-kind spacecraft. If Starship cannot take over this controlled mission class reliably, it is not ready to replace Falcon more broadly. The transition is also about opportunity cost. Reuters reported that Starlink missions grew from about 54% of the Falcon 9 manifest in 2020 to roughly 79% so far in 2026. The exact mix changes as missions move, but the direction is clear. The launch system that serves paying outside customers spends most of its flights deploying SpaceX's own network. That creates a tension inside the business. An outside customer can pay for a Falcon launch and generate launch revenue immediately. An internal Starlink flight does not create the same third-party launch sale. It creates satellite infrastructure that may produce subscription revenue over several years. Both uses can be valuable, but every internal mission occupies a slot that cannot serve someone else at the same time. Reuters also reported that several spacecraft companies were being told Falcon availability was constrained into 2028 or 2029. SpaceX's own filings warn that it may prioritize internal payloads over additional government and commercial demand. In other words, Falcon's success has created scarcity. Starship can relieve that scarcity if it carries the high-volume internal work. Starlink and future heavy SpaceX payloads move to the larger system. Falcon keeps flying missions that value its certification, schedule history, and compatible payload interface. Instead of immediately killing Falcon revenue, Starship can initially protect it by freeing Falcon capacity. That is the counterintuitive business case. SpaceX may begin retiring Falcon from internal deployment precisely because Falcon remains valuable to outside customers. The transition only becomes destructive if Starship fails to reach useful cadence and Falcon production winds down too quickly. The goal is a bridge, not a cliff. SpaceX's own prospectus describes that bridge directly. The company says it is moving primary production and development resources toward the fully and rapidly reusable Starship system. In the same passage, it says Falcon 9 continues to serve as the backbone of launch revenue, generating high-margin, recurring cash flow. Those two statements belong together. Starship is the intended future. Falcon finances and protects the transition. Crew Dragon is the clearest boundary. NASA will not move astronauts simply because Starship can carry more mass. Human spaceflight depends on certification, abort systems, mission-specific hardware, operational history, and agency review. Falcon and Dragon remain a mature system with obligations that stretch beyond Starlink's internal schedule. National security and scientific missions have similar constraints. Payloads may spend years in development. Their interfaces, environmental testing, insurance, launch contracts, and mission designs are built around a specific vehicle. Commercial customers also need predictability. A new rocket may eventually offer better economics, but many customers will prefer the vehicle with hundreds of successful flights until Starship builds its own record. This suggests a staged transition. First, Starship absorbs Florida Starlink deployments. Second, it takes other large internal payloads that benefit most from volume and low cost per kilogram. Third, outside customers move when reliability, integration, and price make the choice rational. Crewed missions come only after the required systems and certifications exist. Falcon 9 could remain active for years inside that structure. Retirement is not one date. It is a sequence in which mission categories migrate as the replacement earns trust. Elon Musk reportedly said the broader Falcon wind-down makes sense once Starship is flying reliably several times per week. That sentence provides both a goal and a warning. Reliability alone is not enough. A rocket that succeeds occasionally cannot replace a system flying at industrial cadence. NASA's Aerospace Safety Advisory Panel has recognized that high flight cadence can improve reliability by producing real-world data. It has also warned that SpaceX's fast-moving Starlink and Starship priorities require monitoring so speed does not weaken judgment or distract from NASA commitments. Investors should watch 5 tests. First is cadence. Does Starship fly every week, then several times per week, without long stand-downs? Second is recovery. Are the booster and ship returned consistently, inspected quickly, and reflown rather than treated as disposable prototypes? Third is deployment. Can a full V3 payload reach the correct orbit and release safely on a repeatable schedule? Fourth is useful capacity. Do those satellites activate and produce the network growth SpaceX claims, rather than merely adding impressive mass to orbit? Fifth is customer migration. Do government and commercial payloads begin choosing Starship because the vehicle has earned confidence, not because Falcon slots have disappeared? The most dangerous transition would be to reduce Falcon capability before Starship has passed these tests. SpaceX needs manufacturing overlap, pad resilience, trained teams, and a manifest that can move when a new system experiences setbacks. The Florida Starlink handoff is therefore not proof that Starship has won. It is the beginning of the examination. So, has SpaceX started retiring Falcon 9? Operationally, for one major mission class in Florida, yes. The company has identified a final planned Falcon Starlink launch from that region and assigned the future work to Starship. As a complete launch system, no. Falcon 9 remains active, proven, revenue-producing, crew-certified, and central to customers who cannot yet move to Starship. California Starlink missions can continue. Dragon missions continue. Government and commercial launches continue. The bigger story is why the handoff is happening. Falcon 9 made frequent reusable launch normal. That success allowed SpaceX to build Starlink at a scale that now strains Falcon's available launch slots and payload architecture. Starship is not replacing a failed rocket. It is being asked to solve the growth problem created by a successful one. The bull case is a smooth bridge. Starship deploys more than 20 times the network capacity per mission, flies several times per week, and frees Falcon for high-value customers while SpaceX gradually migrates the manifest. The bear case is a gap. Falcon resources decline before Starship becomes reliable, internal deployment slow, outside customers wait, and NASA missions face competing demands. Watch the schedule, not the slogan. Count reliable Starship flights. Track real V3 capacity. Measure reuse and turnaround. Follow Falcon backlog and customer migration. Those numbers will reveal whether this is a controlled succession or an expensive bottleneck. Falcon 9 opened the reusable era. Starship now has to prove it can inherit it. This is SpaceXInvestor. Subscribe for source-led analysis of the technology, economics, and risks shaping SPCX. This is not financial advice.